Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. This is Victor. Okay, I got an interesting story for you, and it's about the secret shadow organization that funded Winston Churchill and brought him to power.
Okay,
so we're going to do a villain episode down the road about Winston Churchill.
Great.
Spoiler, he's a terrible, rotten piece of garbage, okay? But in that video, I don't want to talk all about the force that funded him. We're going to talk about that now. It's an interesting standalone story. And I learned about this from Zoomer Historian's channel.
Oh, good.
I want to plug that because I also learned about the British Fine Artillery at their own cities from his channel. And I didn't plug him in that channel. I should have.
Oh, yeah, we weren't sure the name, right?
And then we got a Rumble chat from, I think it was Come On Man. And he said, hey, I'll put it on the screen if it's not. And then he said, hey, did you get that from Zoomer Historian? I said, dude, you are the best. You are the freaking best that you know that fact. Okay, so basically, in the villain series, we're going to go into the whole Gallipoli thing and the disaster of World War I, and just it's insane how terrible this dude was. So he's kind of ostracized in between World War I and World War II. Doesn't have enough money to pay for the upkeep of his estate, right?
Okay.
And he starts selling forged paintings. Like, this dude's scumbag, right? Just scumbag, no morality. Okay. And so we're going to talk about this group that ended up funding him called The Focus. Okay. So I was looking for good information on it, and I found them through Yandex on Metapedia. Okay?
Meta, M-E-T-A, Pedia.
M-E-T-A, yeah.
.com?
Yes. In case you don't know what this is, I'm going to read you the Wikipedia description of what Metapedia is. Okay? Metapedia is an online wiki-based encyclopedia. Its views have been described as fascist, far-right, white nationalist, white supremacist, anti-feminist, homophobic, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, Holocaust denying, and neo-Nazi. So I will be using Metapedia. You know?
Well, that's what they call me. So yeah, let's go there.
It's the same thing. It's just sourced, you know?
Right.
And it's not as voluminous.
Sure.
Because it's more topical on things. Okay, so basically we're talking about The Focus is what they called it, right? Or the Focus Group, okay? So it was originally a British non-sectarian... Okay, this is what it was called. The British non-sectarian oh my gosh, I can't get this out. The British non-sectarian anti-Nazi Council to Champion Human Rights. That was the name of it. Capital for each first of the word, okay? So then they told him, look, you got it to change it to something better, you know?
Yeah.
So they changed it to the Focus for the Defense of Freedom and Peace.
Okay.
Of course they did. And their entire goal was to go to war with Germany. This is the entire goal of the thing. It's called the Focus for the Defense of Freedom and Peace. The Focus Group. Anyways.
Right out of Helldivers.
Amazing.
I mean, it's just,
it's
just obnoxious reverse words.
Amazing. Okay. So this was a propaganda lobby group in the United Kingdom founded in 1935 in response to a call by the Board of Deputies of British Jews, which is an organization, as part of propaganda attempt to give National Socialism a very bad press and turn people against Germany. It continued to exist until the late 1950s. They published a journal simply named Focus. Okay, so the organization was similar to a group in the United States known as the Non-Sectarian Anti-Nazi League, which were a lot of those words from the original first one. He was associated with Samuel Untermyer, who was of infamy for his Judea declares war on Germany newspaper headline. Okay, the group included various politicians who were hostile to Germany for various reasons, either ideological or Labour Party members in the UK, or liberal factions within the Conservative Party who were opposed to the Chamberlain-Baldwin anti-war government. You know, so the pro-war people, basically, the war hawks. And Winston Churchill returning from his time in the wilderness. Okay, so basically, his time in the wilderness is a phrase that means when you're just destitute and your estate's falling in disrepair and you have nothing, you're just looking for the worst people in the world to sell out to, okay? Harold Nicholson wrote from the House of Commons to Vita Sackville West on 2nd March 1938, quote, I went to an odd luncheon yesterday. It is called the Focus Group, and it's one of Winston's things. Don't worry, I'm not going to become one of the Winston Brigade, he said. Okay. You know, because he doesn't want to be associated with the scum, you know? So the funding for the group came from mostly Jewish sources, particularly Robert Whaley Cohen, parentheses around him, of course, former director of Royal Dutch Shell and vice chairman of University College London, described by his biographer as the, quote, veritable dynamic force of focus, end quote. He gave £50,000, a fortune in those days, to the group, with more money coming from fellow travelers. However, other movers and shakers in the group were largely not Jewish, maybe just useful idiots to them. The first president of the organization was Walter Citrine, president of the Hard Left International Confederation of Free Trade Unions. Okay, and there's just a bunch of crappy people involved. Okay. I'm not too interested. Okay. As the secret pressure group, Focus started giving slush money to Churchill in the 1930s. Churchill was the center of this group. The group was mostly dissident politicians, people who were out of office and wanted to get back in and willing to go to any lengths to do it. They're buying their way, including overthrowing the government and getting Churchill in their place. Before 1936, he had largely ignored Germany. However, from 1936 onwards, he began beating the anti-German, this is Churchill, war drum, when there was at that time a lot of pro-German sentiment in England. King Edward VIII was pro-German and pro-peace, but was forced to abdicate over an affair with a divorcee. So I don't know if you know this, but like in the 19-teens, Winston Churchill was publishing articles talking about how terrible the Jews were for Britain.
Wow.
He was publishing them in a newspaper.
Okay.
Right? And this is around the time when he was in power, because he was head of the whole military operation in Gallipoli when they invaded Turkey and just got slaughtered. And just kept sending them to slaughter, you know. Irving then revealed further details of Churchill's financing by the Czechs, as well as the fact of Churchill's financial rescue by a wealthy banker of Austro-Jewish origins, Sir Henry Strakosch, with parentheses around his name, and I'm going to go into detail on him in just a second, who in Irving's words emerged out of the woodwork of the city of London, that great pure international financial institution. When Churchill was bankrupted overnight in the American stock crash of 1938, it was Strakosch who was instrumental in setting the central banks of South Africa and India, who brought up all Churchill's debts. When Strakosch died in 1943, the details of his will, published in the London Times newspaper, included a bequest of £20,000 to the then Prime Minister, eliminating the entire debt. And even though it was a lot of money back then, people will sell out for basically nothing. You know?
Yeah.
You look at how much AIPAC really spends to control 96%. It's pathetic.
Right.
People will... Oh, my gosh. Okay. So, this Sir Henry Strakosch, who provided, was an Austrian-born British banker and businessman. As a Jewish financier, the financial help he offered to Winston Churchill was exploited by Nazi propaganda during the 1930s and World War II, and by Holocaust deniers in the years later. This is from Wikipedia. That's about him.
Gotcha.
So that he's doing terrible things to bring his country into a war that they don't want to go into, was exploited by evil Nazi propagandists and their lies, their truthful lies, and what is it? And by Holocaust deniers in later years. Like, this has anything whatsoever to do with the Holocaust.
Right.
Churchill getting funding has nothing to do with the Holocaust or whether it actually happened, you know?
Yeah.
And this is what it also says in Wikipedia. You ready?
Okay.
Files declassified in the 2000s showed that Strakosch provided large financial gifts to Churchill in 1938 and 1940, which enabled Churchill to pay off his vast debts and to withdraw his Kent home Chartwell from sale at a time of severe financial pressure. So it's all true, revealed in the 2000s. Nazi propaganda exploits this to claim that Churchill was under the control of Zionist bankers, an anti-Semitic trope also repeated by Holocaust denialists such as David Irving. It's just factual.
Right.
It's just factual. Let's see. How many times in my life have people paid off my house that I put
Right.
for
Just
sale?
out of nowhere.
Just goodwill, you know?
No. They got something for that.
Absolutely insane,
Yes.
right? So there it was. You know, he didn't even have these views. He was just bought to do these views.
The propaganda. Yeah.
And they knew he was a good orator, and he said, my price is high, and they paid a high price.
Right. And got incredible value for it. I mean, looking back, what's come of that?
Yeah, I just think it's insane. You know, I think
Yes.
Churchill one day, it should be a name that just lives in infamy one day. It'll be a name where you cannot name your kid Winston.
Right.
You know, you just can't.
Almost like naming them Adolf or Hitler is today.
Right. Yeah. And if you do name your kid Winston, all the Adolfs on the schoolyard, they're just going to kick his butt, you know, or they're probably going to read some books and just do great things with their lives.
Right.
You know, but still,
Yeah.
you know. Anyways, that story, you think it's interesting?
Yeah, it's we've kind of alluded to it in some of our World War II stuff about Winston Churchill and, you know, pulling them into the war when the people weren't behind it and all that kind of stuff. And it's interesting to see his motivations were just monetary. It's depressing, kind of. Like,
It's disgusting.
nobody has character.
It's disgusting, yeah. But see, the problem is there's always somebody with more money than they should have because of their low character.
Okay.
Who will pay somebody who doesn't have character. That there's a million people around that person who doesn't have character, you've got to find the one. It's kind of like the FBI
okay.
setting people up.
That's
You can
true.
guard against the FBI. They're not going for you, brother. They're
Right.
going for the autistic dude living in the basement, smoking weed. Captain
Right.
A, in their terms. I just thought when you were talking right now, King Edward VIII was pro-German and pro-peace, but was forced to abdicate over an affair with a divorcee.
My first thought was, I want to know who the divorcee was.
I want to know what the evidence is.
Right.
So you got to that thought quicker.
Instantly. I was just like, they were Jewish, or they were paid off, or there was something. Because too much came of that to that be an accident in my mind.
Okay.
Knowing what I know.
Okay, let's drag this part out a little bit. I'm going to research it, and I'm going to put it on the screen. Like, I'll start back when you started talking about this.
Okay.
And I'll put who the person was, and I'll put yes Jewish, no Jewish. Sometimes we hit on things here, and sometimes we don't.
Or if you find any evidence of
Yeah, if there was a scandal.
money or anything. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay, and then this will tie into the bigger Winston Churchill.
Villain. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, and I think I'm interested in all the stuff. I'm onto a story about
Yeah.
Hitler being financed by the Americans. I'm onto this story. I think we're still working on the Hitler myth series.
Hitler being... Oh, that's one of the myths?
One of the myths is that he was financed by Britain or the Americans.
Okay.
I've got onto this story. All the myths are false, I thought. And I'm onto this story. And man, I think they literally made a deal with him, and they were funding him as a bulwark against communism. And this thing right here, Churchill upset the plan. The plan was to go with Chamberlain, Baldwin, and the Peace Party. But then when the Munich Pact was broken, and then the Norway thing, this guy burst into power, ruining the establishment's plan. The establishment's plan, well, I'm going to get down to the research.
Okay.
But basically there's evidence, there's like 100% verified evidence that they funded the Nazi Party headquarters, that these robber barons in the United States did.
In the 30s?
Yeah, they funded
Okay.
its building, But they want to do your thing with your Germans, like whatever, march around, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And also protect us from those scary communists, I'll get more evidence and stuff and see.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll debunk it. We'll see. Alex Jones is on it.
Well, I don't know what that means.
I know he's iffy about the Holocaust, but I'm just saying this is not Holocaust. This is
Holocaust adjacent.
yeah. But it would. Yeah, another way you would be pro-Holocaust would be to undermine Germany's authenticity. But this story doesn't. You would have to work it to make it. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, if I was Hitler, and I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to fight communists. I want to bring the German people high. And then some foreign guys came and said, hey, listen, we'll give you all the money. Just do the things you said you'd do. Make sure to fight communists. Make sure to rearm and be really strong. That's all the things I want to do. Raise my people up, right? Can I do that? Yeah, you can do that. Okay, here's the money. You're not a bad guy for taking the money.
Okay.
You want to pay me to do everything I promised my people I would do?
Okay.
Sick. Common interest. Anti-communism. Cool. Anyways, we'll get to that in a later episode.
Yeah.
But this will tie into how I've got this whole plot going on.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody talk about this stuff.
Okay.
How that, and I think I'm onto something.
Cool.
It'll be like months in the making because it's hard
Yeah.
to find sources on stuff.
Sure. We've got White Powerpedia or whatever.
Oh,
So we
Metapedia at my disposal. The sky is the limit. You're going to start getting 11 episodes a week. You know what I mean?
Right. Got this new source.
Okay.
All right. Very interesting. Good groundwork for some, sounds like some interesting stuff in the future. Hopefully you'll learn something. If you have anything on you hear where he's headed with this stuff, if you've got
please.
cool videos you see or anything that you think ties in, let us know and help him build his case, pro or against, just looking for the truth. We always thank you for your help on all these things, and we'll see you next time.